Hey guys, it's Matt Marzillo here, and this week we're going to be focusing in on I'm calling it a case study, but it's a way to practice using functions, formulas, and pivot tables in Microsoft Excel. So up until this point, the last few weeks, you've been developing some new skills, hopefully, or at least fine-tuning some skills that you already had in Microsoft Excel. And this week we're not going to introduce anything new, no new concept, but we are going to have a little bit of a beefier homework assignment that you're going to focus on, and we're calling it a case study that's related to data for a fitness facility that has classes and data related to different fitness classes. So right now I have pulled up the instructions and the questions that you're going to answer, and I'm not going to read through this right now. That's your responsibility to read through it this week. But essentially what we have here is a list of 9 different questions, and I have part 1 here, but it's only one part, so I can delete that. But you have a list of 9 questions, and you're going to answer all of those questions by making some additions to the Excel spreadsheet that I provided. Right, so you're going to be inserting some new columns, right? So for question 1, you're going to insert the new students percentage column, or you're going to be inserting a new sheet or a tab with a pivot table on it, like here in question 3. And then I think there's one question here. Oh yeah, right here at the bottom. Question number 9, we're going to be inserting just a cell of formula in a cell to calculate the average teacher per class salary. So you're going to notice this is a little bit of a larger homework assignment, and that's by design. And actually, as we kind of move through the second half of the term, we're going to start doing more assignments like this, where you're actually taking your skills and applying them to real-world examples. So this is kind of getting your feet wet with that sort of concept and those sort of assignments. So really quickly, I will pull open the data file that we have here. Let me delete that. Okay, I'll delete that. And what you have here is this is the data set you're going to be working with that's attached to this week's Moodle module. So you can see here you have different exercise fitness classes here. We're calling it a format, so boot camp, yoga 2, hot yoga, so on and so forth. Instructor, total number of visits, and then whether these total visits are comprised of new students and returning students. We also have the number of meeting times, the average revenue per class, and then how much the teacher is getting paid, the teacher rate. And then you're going to be using this data file to answer the questions. And I'm going to run through 2 questions really quick right now. So I'm essentially giving you 2 freebies right now if you just follow what I do here. And that'll sort of give you a feel for what you need to do to complete the assignment and get full credit. So question number 1 asks, what percentage of students in each class were new students? And it's saying in order to answer this question, you're going to insert a new students percentage column, right? So you're going to go over to the data file, and you're going to insert a new column called new student percentage, and let's widen that out a little bit. Okay, and we're essentially calculating the percentage of new students, right? So we're going to always make sure you're leaving your formulas in the Excel workbook. So you're going to divide new students here in cell F2 by the total number of visits. And then you can see the formula looks like F2 divided by E2. Click enter. Okay, if I double click on this bar down here in the bottom right of the cell, it should autofill, and it does. And then I'm going to switch that format to the percentage format by going right up here in the home ribbon. And it looks like, just do a sanity check here, it looks like I'm saying here 43% are new students, and we have 71 new students compared to 95 returning students, and that makes sense, right? It's a little bit less than half, so the numbers seem to jive in my head. So that's it. So that's the way you're going to answer question 1. You're done with question 1. So there are several other questions like that that are going to ask you to add columns. Just kind of do it in the same way, use the same logic. If you have any questions about what's meant by certain calculations. It's pretty intuitive, but if it's not, feel free to reach out, send me an email, or post something on Moodle, and I'll get right back to you. And I will go through one more question. I think I'm going to do a pivot table example. Okay, question number 3 asks, what was the average attendance for each class, or we're calling that format, that met? And it's saying create a pivot table on a new sheet or tab and name it attendance and revenue. Okay, so if we go back to our data sheet and we click inside the table, and I go to insert pivot table, and I'm going to make sure that we are clicking new worksheet. So we're going to add a new worksheet that has this pivot table. Okay, great. And I'm essentially having to calculate, I believe, was it the average attendance for each class? So I know class is format. That's going to go down here as my row labels. So you can see I have these 6 different class types, or 6 different formats. And then let me double check again what it was asking. It's average attendance. Okay, great. So if I go to total visits and I make that my value, put it down here. So right now I'm getting the sum of total visits, but I want the average of total visits, and the way we do that is by going down here, clicking on value field settings, and switching from sum to average. And then there you go. We have the average total visits. You can reformat this if you want to. It probably won't, in terms of just averages and things like that, I'm not going to be too much of a stickler on formatting. But with percentages and things like that, I will. If it asks for a percentage, please make sure it's formatted as a percentage. So this is essentially, I'm giving you the answers to questions 1 and 3. And then you can see, like, for questions 4, it's just asking you to use that same pivot table and to add on an additional calculation onto it. So it's saying how much total revenue did each class generate for the entire quarter. So you would just kind of go back to this pivot table and do you would insert a new value field here to calculate total revenue by class. And I'm not going to give that to you. That's for you to find out. Oh, and before I move on, this actually isn't correct yet. I need to change the name of the sheet here, right? So I'm saying name it attendance and revenue. So if I go back here, right click on the sheet, click rename, I'm going to name it attendance and revenue. So that's it, right? So as you go through the questions, you're gonna wind up having to add 2 additional sheets that have pivot tables. So your entire complete file should have 3 tabs: the raw data, and then the 2 additional tabs. And then you're also going to be adding columns to the raw data tab that answer several of the questions. And that's it. So your deliverable is just the Excel workbook. Make sure to include all formulas and functions. And if you have any questions, please don't be bashful. Feel free to reach out. And then we have the midterms right around the corner. So please, if you have an opportunity this week to kind of peek at it and see if something doesn't look right, if you have some questions, I would suggest getting on that earlier so we can kind of get any issues ironed out, because the midterm does make up 25% of your grade in this course. Okay, guys, thanks a lot.